Alright guys, hopefully that was the wake-up call you needed. I know we rotated the team before this Chatham Cup final, but still, dropping points to Western Suburbs, not very good. If we lose another game now in this championship phase of the National League, we're in trouble. But hopefully your first team is now fit for this Chatham Cup final. We won it last season. It's just Auckland City. We know we can beat them, especially in this competition. Let's get it done. I want big effort before the international break. And you New Zealand guys, just please don't get injured because, you know, we'd quite like to qualify for the World Cup again. Huh? Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 53 of the New Zealand Builder Nation here on Shaun Does FM with both Cashmere Technical and the All Whites, and coming up today games with both of those teams. First up, it's the Chatham Cup final. Hopefully we can defend this as yet again we take on Auckland City, albeit before then we'll introduce you guys to a number of new faces that we have signed here going in to the National League Championship part of the season, and off the back of that going to play the first leg of our World Cup qualifying final here in Oceania against New Caledonia, those guys running over the top of Tahiti in the other group. So if you're looking forward to that coming up in today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. At the end of last week, before we hit Easter, we did wrap up the Southern League with wins over both the Dunedin City Royals and Nelson Suburbs. If you missed that episode, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. We did, as you can see there on screen, go through the remainder of the Southern League season undefeated, but before then did have a big 2-month gap where we could sign some players who had come off contract from A-League clubs, and that's exactly what we've done. To be fair, that's something I might do more in the future seasons of this save, make more transfers halfway through the season instead of going into the new season in around January, February, because we saw how that went back when we did the group stages of the OFC Champions League, made our way out, but not very convincingly. But definitely some more quality players do become available halfway through the year, as you're about to see, because we have snapped up quite a few here at Cashmere Technical, and a lot of them you will be familiar with from our days back at AFC Auckland or from our time in the All Whites. Just a couple of new ones there up the top that you might not recognise. Hopefully this won't take too long to run through. It does mean had to let go of a few players out on loan and a couple of sales just to balance the books, but we're still under our wage budget here at Cashmere Technical and has signed some very good players. First up, a new starting right winger for us here, Justin Keat, starting for the All Whites. For some reason AFC Auckland let him go, so we have picked him up. He is definitely a very, very good quality player here for the National League in New Zealand. For some reason, no overseas clubs or other A-League clubs were interested in him, so we picked him up. The same can be said for Adam White. The first time we're actually managing this guy at club level in this save. Of course, he came through an early youth intake with the Phoenix when we were up at AFC Auckland. Very good left back up behind Libero Kakache for the All Whites. So another really good get for us here at Cashmere Technical. As well as that, we picked up Ike Tsukamoto. Could only afford one of him or Jordan Courtney Perkins, but Courtney Perkins is currently out with some damaged cruciate ligaments for about 2 to 4 months. That made the decision a little bit easier. Is on the largest wage of these players that we have signed recently, around 4k a week, but only a couple of years away from becoming a New Zealand citizen, and thus could play one day for the All Whites. So we've picked him up as a new defensive midfielder. It does mean our captain Jamie Fletcher does drop down to the bench. Bit of a break before we did some more transfers. As you can see over on the right hand side, did start to get some deals in progress to counter some of the wage that was coming in. Got rid of Josh Talubi, obviously, with the signing of Justin Keat. He's gone to Western United for a fee of £5.25 thousand. To be fair, he was on a similar wage to what we're paying Justin Keat anyway. There's definitely a good upgrade, and we've loaned out a couple of players in Inchingarce Dominguez and Ryan Henner. Just get those wages off of the books as well, with some extra depth that has come in to the club. And off the back of those deals starting to take place, we also brought in young Matthew de Hotman de Villiers, also let go from AFC Auckland as a backup left winger in behind Ahmed Shusha, a player we're quite familiar with, as I said, from our time at the A-League club. And then a couple of extras, Aristide Ikwala is a right back that we brought in with that big injury that Callum Elliott did suffer last season. Did feel like we could use a bit of extra depth there for this season at least. He's a foreigner, which we could afford to do, seeing as now our left back is a New Zealander. And Adam White's a bit of an improvement there over someone like Julian Pike coming in from Cameroon. He's one of the players that you're not too familiar with, but only 21 years old. A little bit of potential. Not too sure how long he'll last here, but just to feel like we could use that extra right back depth, especially while Callum Elliott is still out with injury. And also sign an extra striker. I did think that maybe just having the two wasn't the best idea. So Stephen Lopez, formerly of Sydney United, he comes to us on a free, paying him 1.4k a week, and he's got a fair bit of potential as well. New first choice striker for us here at Cashmere Technical. It does mean someone like Michael James Gilbert might now play a bit more for the B team. The same applies to players like Nathan Walker, but it did feel like it was a good idea. Those attributes do look very good for the role he does play once we get there. And an advanced forward. So a lot of A-League players coming to us here at Cashmere Technical. A bit surprised that some of them actually wanted to come here, but I thought we'd strengthen the squad while we could, especially with some wage budget still available, even though had to get rid of some of the former players to make that the case. In Tuluvi, Nchingase, Stride, Dominguez, Hannah, and also got rid of a youngster in Josh Easthope, and also departing recently, Louis Munoz's loan did become a transfer to Sydney FC, and of course that sale as well of Rosane Begigio. So a bit of transfer business has taken place off the back of the end of last week. In terms of how that's affected things on the field, not too badly. We did actually play a bit of Chatham Cup before we did get back into life in the Southern League. Not that it mattered too much with that competition already wrapped up in us being the champions. Got past Christchurch United 3-0 in the second round. It's actually been quite Southern themed, the Chatham Cup so far for us this season, off the back of that win late last week over Western Suburbs. Played the Dunedin City Royals in the third round only 3 days after Christchurch United and picked up a comfortable 4-0 win there. Then went forward a few weeks in the month of July. The only game we played was the fourth round. We took on Nomads these days down in the division below the Southern League. Picked up a very comfortable 8-1 win, largely thanks to a hat-trick to Mohamed El Ghazali. Then in early August, came back to play a quarter-final. This one up in Lower Hutt as we took on Wainui Yamata. Just a 2-0 win there, probably because we didn't play the game for quite a while. And then off the back of a 5-0 win in the National League over the Dunedin City Royals, the Southern League that is, we then took on Selwyn United in the semi-finals and picked up a 2-0 win with goals there in the first half, and also picked up wins in our last couple of games of the Southern League. A narrow one there over Nelson Suburbs, and then a thrashing of Selwyn on the final day of the season. So it does mean we've won all of our games this season in the National League come the end of the Southern League phase. 42 points. The team that came through alongside us because of goal differential was the Dunedin City Royals. Into the National League Championship, Nelson Suburbs just missing out in Coastal Spirit. They have been relegated down to the second tier here in the South Island. For next season, quick update on the other leagues before a quick recap of what's happened so far in our first 3 games of the National League Championship. Western Suburbs just champions over Lower Hutt. Of course, they're the Phoenix affiliate, so couldn't come into the National League Championship. Petone and Wellington Olympic, they also make their way up from the Central League. Miramar Rangers have been relegated from that division, and the Northern Premier League, Auckland City, just the one loss that they suffered in the league phase, it was to Eastern Suburbs. They go through comfortably. Manurewa, Melville United, and Manukau United also in the National League Championship, and of course, as well as that, the Phoenix Reserves, Tauranga City, and East Coast Bays, they go down. So that's what's happened in terms of the results of the regional subdivisions, and we have played the first couple of games of the championship as well, just to get forward to this Chatham Cup final. To be fair, thought these games looked relatively straightforward based on what we've seen of the teams that were played so far this season that we have taken on. Didn't quite work out. As you can see, currently 2 points behind Auckland City because we have dropped points domestically for the first time this season, and surprisingly, that was against the team we beat very comfortably in the first round of the Chatham Cup in Western Suburbs. Before then, pretty comfy wins, 5-2 over Wellington Olympic away from home. Our new signing Stephen Lopez with a hat-trick there, and 3-1 at home over Manukau United with all those goals coming in the first half. But a bit of an excuse for that draw against Western Suburbs. It's only a few days prior to this Chatham Cup final, so we did put out a full rotation, albeit I thought we could afford to do that considering that's what we did when we picked up that 6-2 win over them back in that first round of the Chatham Cup. But drop points there, largely thanks to the last goal, which we did concede. And this is it here. We're trying to make our way out from the back with only a few minutes left and a 2-1 lead. But Lapane there looking for Fletcher in this game. Did play as a centre-back. Really poor pass that one, and Shearer got on the end of it. And that's the main reason we are 2 points behind Auckland City. It does mean we probably need to be near perfect from this point just to make sure we do make our way into that National League Championship final. But I'd like to think that will be the case, especially off the back of this Chatham Cup final. We can start to play our full strength 11 again in that competition. So a bit frustratingly there, drop points, but hopefully it will pay off the strategy if we can beat Auckland City in the Chatham Cup final. In terms of how they made their way through to this, the semi-final, they got past Manukau United 3-2. That was thanks to a very late goal, and before then they beat teams like Hibiscus Coast in the fourth round. They got past Hamilton Wanderers. Third round, they beat North Shore United and Beefy. Not too sure if it's worth going back any further than that, but it's probably the final that you would expect. There was a chance we could have played in the semis, but thankfully ended up being split into a Northern League and Southern League semi-final respectively, and hopefully can get some revenge on these guys for the fact that they beat us in that OFC Champions League final, which still haunts me just a little bit, as well, of course, as the National League Championship final from last season. In terms of injuries going in to today's episode, Mohamed El Ghazali and Bailey Stevenson are both out, and also a number of players just coming back from injuries in the likes of Lorenzo Jansnick. Well, our new right back didn't last too long before he picked up an injury, which is typical when you bring him in as injury cover for someone like Callan Elliott, who thankfully is back now from that long-term injury. Also, Shusha Pedro and De Hotman de Villiers have suffered injuries recently, but are okay to play, albeit their minutes are a bit limited. But thankfully, those two injuries that we do have to El Ghazali and to Stevenson not affecting first-team players here these days. So it does mean we can go into this cup final near enough to full strength and hopefully pick up a trophy at the expense of Auckland City and make it back-to-back Chatham Cups here at Cashmere Technical. And we'll come back shortly from the GMP and hopefully get the job done in this Chatham Cup final. And here are the team sheets for this season's Chatham Cup final, looking to make it back-to-back here at Cashmere Technical. Just one change to our usual best 11, Jamie Fletcher over Tsukamoto. That is because he's on a bit of a heavy workload, but apart from that, that is our best 11 these days off the back of those transfers that we did make going in to the National League Championship phase. Auckland City also going with a 4-2-3-1. Hopefully we can beat them here in 90 minutes in front of our home fans and pick up back-to-back cups, albeit the first highlight. Hopefully a chance for us to do that, as it's the corner in our favour. Tracy comes out and punches that clear before Victoros can get his head on the end of that one. Now Shusha tries to square it for Lopez. Good chance for him there, but unfortunately just puts that one wide of the post. Still 0-0 at the 5-minute mark. And in fact, before I can wrap things up, another corner here in our favour, looking for Victoros there at the far post. He's getting quite dangerous from those set pieces, as you'd expect, but that time goes just wide. And still can't catch my breath because there's another highlight here at the 7-minute mark. Adam White taking the free kick, the former Phoenix man and second choice left back with the All Whites. Now Justin Keat, the former AFC Auckland man as well as Western Suburbs, he will put that one away off the back of an assist from Fletcher. And it hasn't taken us long here to take a 1-0 lead, albeit these days that's expected. Didn't show you the season preview, but these days the entire Dream 11 is made up of my players, because we've gone a bit crazy on the transfers, albeit when you've won the Champions League or National League Championship, I think that's justified. But Justin Keat scores the first goal, 1-0 up after 10 minutes. And we have to wait a little while until the next highlight of this Chatham Cup final, but yet again it does look like it might be in our favour. Throwing just inside of the opposition half, Callan Elliott, very happy to have him back from injury and available for a big game finally against Auckland City. Tried to play a ball forward there. We lost position briefly, but thankfully Auckland City clear it and we get it back. Elliott plays that one back to Victoros, and now Fletcher over to Dirty Ray Dominic. Now Shusha will find here Adam White in a ton of space, cuts inside. We'll pick out Janssen, tries to curve that one top right corner. Comes off the bar though, maybe should have looked to go the other side there where the net might have been a bit more open. I think Connor Tracy actually had that right hand side covered, but unfortunately the woodwork came to the rescue there of Auckland City. We do see the throw-in off the back of that, and thankfully are just able to keep on the attack here. McGoldrick picks out Adam White. Nice ball forward there for Shusha. Squares that one nicely for Stephen Lopez, and he will score his first goal on camera for us here at Cashmere Technical, the former Sydney United man. That makes it 2-0, and hopefully the super team that we've kind of built now here at Cashmere Technical can get the job done. I will say we won't keep these All Whites here for long if some big clubs do come knocking, either from the A-League or from further overseas. And to be fair, their transfer value not too great considering they are down this low, but so far they're doing well in the Chatham Cup final. We're 2-0 up at the half-hour mark. And it looks like that will do it for the first half. Things certainly slowed down off the back of that second goal that we did score through Stephen Lopez, but very dominant first half from us there. Auckland City got a shot off late, but not much XG as it was not on target, and quite comfortably 2-0 in front here in the Chatham Cup final. Everyone's playing quite well, so don't think any changes are needed just yet, and hopefully we can hold on and pick up the Chatham Cup for a second season in a row. And we're just about to make our way into the last 20 minutes of this Chatham Cup final, and so far the second half has been up to absolutely nothing in terms of highlights, not much action from either team, but I think it's time for us here to make some subs. Janssen there down to a little bit of a deep yellow heart, so Gil Paquette can come on as a central attacking midfielder. Also, we'll bring on Julian Pike at right back for Cullen Elliott coming back from injury, and also Connor Kerwin for Vic Ross going just a bit worse than his centre-back partner and Ollie McGoldrick. That's all our subs used. Still 2-0 in front with just over 10 minutes left. And still no highlights in the second half as we make our way into the last 5 minutes of this cup final, but eventually we get one. It is a throw in our favour. Quite pleased here that Auckland City so far have been up to absolutely nothing, which is quite nice after that shocker that we did have in the OFC Champions League final, even though we did take that one to penalties. Certainly looking a bit more solid here with Josh Hawkins in goal, albeit he hasn't had too much to do, but we keep the ball here nicely and try and get something going down our right-hand side. Pike will pick out Paquette, takes on a shot from a tight angle, but off the bench, Gil Paquette, who of course formerly was the best player in the National League these days. That is both Justin Keat and Adam White. He'll make it 3-0, and we are stuffing Auckland City here in the Chatham Cup final. Thankfully, that does kind of justify the fact I rotated the squad for that Western Suburbs game. Hopefully, it doesn't prove costly in the National League Championship. We make our way into that final just to make sure we get OFC Champions League football for next season. But that is a very dominant display. To be fair, not that many shots on target considering just how on top we were in that game. But we get one there over Auckland City for the first time in a little while since the Charity Cup right at the start of the domestic season. We pick up a 3-0 win, and that sees us lift back-to-back Chatham Cups here at Cashmere Technical once we get the trophy lift. Ooh, hey, fireworks go off and the GMP is rocking. So a good start to the episode there as we pick up a win over Auckland City in the Chatham Cup. I've stripped down now to my all-white shirt. It's not the traditional one, but it's got New Zealand football on it. That other one, I've been wearing it quite a while in this series and it needed a wash, so yeah, going with this one today, but hopefully we can make our way through to the 2030 World Cup by beating New Caledonia over 2 legs. This first leg as well is at Eden Park. Haven't quite played there yet, so I suppose we can do a bus trip, albeit I found accommodation that is very, very close by. But New Caledonia, I wasn't actually expecting to be playing in this OFC qualifying final for the World Cup. We already knew that we were through, but back when we checked on this last, it was actually Tahiti who were on top of the other group. We'll just go forward there and see what happened in that other group, because Tahiti were on top. They drew a Fiji, while New Caledonia picked up a draw against them before then. Then New Caledonia, in the last couple of match days that did happen, beat both Fiji and Tahiti, overtook them and ended up on 7 points and going through 2 points clear of Tahiti and Fiji. To be fair, not that far behind, but in third in that group, so it was quite a close run group, that one. But New Caledonia make their way through to this OFC World Cup qualifying final. I don't think they've actually taken on so far on camera in the save. They are down in 145th in terms of their world ranking. Of course, New Caledonia, a little bit of a French influence. So to be fair, thought this might be the nation who would be our closest challengers in Oceania, but so far fair to say that has been Tahiti. But we'll see what New Caledonia can do here, but definitely expecting us to go through to the 2030 FIFA World Cup, considering that these days we are all the way up In 70th on the world rankings, have just dropped down a little bit while these World Cup qualifiers have been taking place, considering Oceania teams not the highest rated, but this is definitely a game that we should be winning, especially with no injury concerns in the All Whites at the moment as well. But before we get stuck in to the first leg, which we should hopefully be winning by enough to make sure that second leg over in New Caledonia doesn't mean too much. As I said, haven't played at Eden Park yet, so it's time for a walking bus trip. And there are a couple of good options around Eden Park in terms of accommodation, as you would expect, considering that Eden Park is apparently New Zealand's national stadium. Hopefully it gets bulldozed soon or something and actually build a good one. But here is the best accommodation I could find near Eden Park. It is the at Eden Park Motel. It's 200 metres away from the ground. That seems about right for us to be. I'm not actually sure if they have enough hotel beds for our players, but hopefully a fair few of them do live up in Auckland these days at AFC Auckland, so that shouldn't be an issue. Hopefully can just book this place out nice and close to the ground itself. We can just hire the whole place out, enjoy the barbecue that I've probably got there and whatnot. So that's the hotel that we'll stay at. To be fair, the website doesn't have a great deal of pictures of the rooms and whatnot, but you can see there the entry is right across the road from the hotel. So thankfully this won't be too much of an issue in terms of getting to the ground. So really, this is more of a look around the stadium, as you're about to see, because here's the hotel, and there is Eden Park, or at least the Kingsland entrance of Eden Park. The nearby train station, we'll just go here, go down the road briefly, and then we'll take a left, and we are at Eden Park. That was so fast. So there is the bus trip for today. Not too long, obviously, because we're staying right next to the place. We'll have a quick look around the outside, just see what it does look like. Because to be fair, I haven't actually ever been to Eden Park for a sport game. I've just seen it going past on the trains when I've been in Auckland occasionally. Here it is from the outside. It does look a little bit old, but to be fair, cultured old, I think is the right way you put that. Not like worn down and broken too much, albeit if they're going to build a new stadium in Auckland, I think that would be quite nice, because we probably need a new one soon, because this one has been around for a little while. And in the words of Barney Stinson, new is always better. But we'll just make our way around the rest here of Eden Park. There is a statue, a Maori statue there. Just keep going and seeing what else there is around the place. There should be a statue somewhere of Sir Michael Jones scoring the first try in the World Cup final, I believe, or the World Cup itself, which was back in 1987. We'll see if we can spot that one as we make our way down Cricket Avenue, which is rather interestingly named, considering not much cricket gets played at Eden Park anymore, because it's a funny shape for cricket. But we'll keep going down Cricket Avenue here and just see what else is on the exterior of Eden Park that we can see. Now we go here down Lemurs Avenue, and now we make our way towards the opposite side of Eden Park from where we were staying at the Eden Park Motel. Nice bit of greenery, just keeping the residents nice and protected from all that noise pollution that they always complain about at Eden Park. But to be fair, don't think we're seeing too much here of what else is around Eden Park. Can't quite spot that statue of Sir Michael Jones. So I think it's time to actually have a look at the inside of the ground itself. There's a courier truck that was just dropping something off there. Hopefully my beersies for after the game. But that is the outside of Eden Park. I think that's where we just came from before for our hotel. In fact, it might be down here a little bit more. But there was Eden Park. In fact, there's the Ipu, the Eden Park Outer Oval, where quite often the Auckland Aces, they play cricket games, and you can see the training nets there. All the cricket teams were there at Eden Park, and also the road does look a little bit damp, as can often be the case in Auckland. Weather just changes so often. There's a mobile across the road that often gets absolutely bombarded with cricket balls, thanks to Martin Guptill quite a lot recently for the Auckland Aces. He does like a slog sweep in that direction. But there is the outside of Eden Park, I think now getting quite close again to our motel, and there it is just up there. So it's now time to have a look on the inside of the ground itself. And we do have a couple of options here to have a look at the inside of Eden Park. Here's the first one, bit of a drone shot this one. It is New Zealand's national stadium. Does look like a bit more of a coliseum than some of the other stadiums we have played at so far in the safe. Quite nice to be playing there. there you can see there's actually a camping area where you can book out and stay the night at the ground if that's something that you want to do. Also a bit of a KFC pop-up there. You may be wondering why there's golf greens on the ground. That's some promotional thing they do once a year. So yeah, you hit from a part of the stadium and try and get a hole-in-one and play a bunch of par threes at Eden Park. So that's something that they do occasionally. Obviously, that's what was going on back when this was taking place. Over the back, that is where we just were looking at the Ipu Eden Park outer oval. And I think around there somewhere was our accommodation, but there's Eden Park from above. We'll just try and get a look at it when it's not quite in golf mode. And as per usual in New Zealand, it's not for football, because after this was obviously a rugby game that was played by the Blues. We'll just try and see here if they won. Can't tell by the reactions. It looks like they might have won, which based on previous seasons is actually quite a rarity for the Blues. But there you can see what Eden Park does look like from the ground level itself. That I shouldn't be able to get away with that at the moment. The Crusaders are blimmin' awful, but there is what Eden Park does look like from ground level. To be fair, this looks like it was back from when they were playing South African teams pre-COVID in Super Rugby. But there's Eden Park, New Zealand's national stadium. Hopefully we can book our ticket for the next World Cup by beating New Caledonia there. And here are the team sheets for this first leg of the Oceania World Cup qualifying final against New Caledonia. There's our best 11, no injuries, a couple of changes you might not be expecting. Martin Damon from Notts County is now our first choice right back over Nico Koo, and also Jamie Kelly from the Wellington Phoenix, actually a bit better than Sarpreet Singh. So a couple of youngsters are working their way into that first choice 11. So these days, it's actually quite a young starting 11 for us here at the All Whites. I think the oldest player might be someone like Alex Paulson, which is saying a bit, or Libero Kakache, but we are on the front foot early. I think New Caledonia, they were going there. I saw it briefly with a 4-4-2, but early highlight, and we are on the attack. Hopefully can put these guys to the sword at the Garden of Eden and make sure that second leg won't have too much riding on it. Just book our ticket nice and early to the World Cup. Justin Keats squeezed that one nicely for Jamie Kelly on debut in this game as well. So a big game for him to debut, but unfortunately that time just missed the mark. Good to see the Cashmere guys going quite well early. And a highlight shortly off the back of that, do briefly lose out on position, but thankfully Joe Bell gets it back, and McDonald, nice ball forward there to Justin Keat. But the goalkeeper there comes up with a very good save to make sure that one goes out for a corner. We'll just see what happens from this. If someone like Tyler Bindon or Kelly Heald can get their head on the end of it, they can't. But Josh Pickering can, just freshes that one into the top right corner, and the Chicago Fireman will give us an early 1-0 lead. He's been tearing up the MLS so far this season, which is good to see. That's why I was a bit surprised we could actually get someone like Justin Keat on a free transfer. But a good start. We go 1-0 up after 5 minutes. And very short at the back of that opening goal. Now it's a goal kick here to New Caledonia. Hopefully we can put the foot down, as I said, and put this one to bed after only the first leg here at Eden Park. Marko Stamanic wins that one. Now Kelly plays that forward to Keat. There's lots of options inside him. We'll pick out Jamie Kelly. It's a debut goal for the young Wellington Phoenix central attacking midfielder. Hopefully that's a sign of some very good things to come. As I said, these days our team is quite young, especially considering we've got players like Michael Cornelius Beale in behind the likes of Marko Stamanic as well, and also Billy Debenham in behind Alex Paulson. We've got young options in behind the guys who are a bit older in this New Zealand squad. So it is a young team. So to be fair, we're quite well set for the next couple of years, a couple of World Cups, I think, with this current All Whites team, but hopefully can still get some good imports who do qualify for the squad. But yet again, we are on the attack with a 2-0 lead. Justin Keat there kind of got his head on the end of that one. Then McDonald with a really good chance, but doesn't quite hit the target from point blank range. And we still have a 2-0 lead at the 15-minute mark. And just short of the 20-minute mark, we get the next highlight here of this OFC World Cup qualifying final first leg. We are still obviously on the front foot. We try and find Jamie Kelly there looking for a double inside the box, but to be fair, that pass wasn't too great. But Bindon heads that one forward to Joe Bell, and now Kelly will find Darman in a bit of space down the right-hand side, squares that one, but New Caledonia, they can clear it. Tyler Bindon heads it back down again, though, for Marko Stamanic. We'll see what he can do these days. Has made his way to Mallorca, floats this one far post for George McDonald, and this time he'll hit it home. Martin Damon of Notts County will pick up the assist. 3-0 after only 20 minutes. Hopefully, this is a sign of things to come. We can put the foot down, as I've said a few times, and put this one to bed after the first leg, considering wasn't really expecting New Caledonia to make this final, but it's been a great start. 3-0 up after 20 minutes. And yet again, not too long off the back of that previous goal, we are back down the other end here for a throw-in inside of the final third. Looking for Justin Keat far post, but we can't quite find him. But Darman is there to get us back on the front foot. Joe Bell back to Darman, looking near far post for Josh Pickering, but the goalkeeper there will tidy that one up for New Caledonia. We'll see if they can launch an attack here for the first time in this game. But so far, as you'd expect, does look like we'll be booking our ticket to the FIFA World Cup in 2030. New Caledonia will have to make their way for a continental playoff, which is probably not ideal for them because they'll probably play teams stronger than us in that playoff, but we're still on the attack here. Justin Keat makes his way down that right-hand side, plays that one into Kelly. Someone goes down there inside the box, and it's been given as a penalty, so a chance for us here to make it 4-0 now. No Sarpreet Singh in the starting 11, so not too sure who's actually taking this one. It is going to be Josh Pickering, the Chicago Fireman, and that is a good penalty. Slots that one calmly into the bottom left corner. He'll put himself onto a hat-trick, and just over halfway through the first half, we already have a 4-0 lead. And we're away a little while from the next highlight in this game, 10 minutes shy of half-time, but still on the front foot, as you'd expect, in a corner in our favour. Bell picks out McDonald. That one takes a deflection, it looked like, but does go out for a goal kick, and we're still 4-0 in front late in the first half. And looks like we're going to get one more highlight here in this first half with a 4-0 lead, a free kick just inside of our own half. Tyler Bindon takes this one short for Stumnich, plays that one forward to Kelly. That pass just behind McDonald, but thankfully still reacts well to get hold of it. Nice ball there from Liberato for Jamie Kelly, who'll pick up a first half double. He's on a hat-trick in his All-Whites debut. Is the young Phoenix man. 5-0 before half-time, fair to say. This is going about as well as it could in a World Cup qualifying final, even though we are just playing New Caledonia. But as I said, actually thought these guys might be our toughest opposition in Oceania, considering the French influence. Probably quite a few French players that could make the switch to New Caledonia if they'd asked them, which I would certainly be doing if I was their manager, but thankfully doesn't look like they're quite as strong as I was expecting them to be in this save. And we're going to halftime with a very comfortable 5-0 lead already. You'd like to think that's job done, and we'll make our way through to the World Cup. But we'll see what happens in the second half if we can build on this 5-goal advantage. And we've got for around about 20 minutes here of the second half. No highlights so far, which is a bit disappointing, but it's time for us to make our first sub. Joe Bell down to a red heart. Louis Evans from the Perth Glory. He can come on. Also, we might take off Justin Keat. Just give him a rest, considering he's one of our Cashmere Tech boys. Ben Wayne, who's also actually currently available on a free transfer. We won't quite go that far at Cashmere, but we'll bring him on at right wing. 20 minutes left, and still 5-0 in front. And in fact, just off the back of that, there is a free kick in our favour. Kelly healed at the far post. Big chance, but can't quite hit the target. Still 5-0 in front. And in fact, as I say that, now Darman is down to a red heart. So Nico Kerwin, he can come on with 15 minutes left. And shortly for back of bringing on Nico Kerwin, now it's a free kick here in our favour, which George McDonald will take, looking for a second EIEI goal, but unfortunately that one does come off the woodwork. But off the back of that, now Marco Stumnick is down to a red heart. Michael Cornelius Beale these days, the AFC Auckland captain, can come on. And we've got one more sub that we can use here with our last stoppage. A couple of players who are on a hat-trick, so I don't think we want to take them off up front. But we do have players in defence who are sitting on yellow cards in Oceania, in particular Tyler Bindon. Probably most important of those, Simon Curtis, can come on for him with our final sub, still 5-0 in front. And a few highlights are starting to happen now quite late in this half. A free kick for us inside our own half with around 10 minutes if we take it short, and Cornelius Beale plays that ball for Pickering. Does get taken out there briefly from behind, and the ball actually comes off the corner flag. It's a good hustle there from Pickering to keep hold of that one, and he'll pick up an assist to go alongside his 2 goals. And Michael Cornelius Beale, the best player that we had come through in a youth intake while we were up there at AFC Auckland, he will curve that one nicely into the bottom right corner. That makes it 6-0. A very good first leg for us here at Eden Park, and that should pretty much book our ticket to the 2030 FIFA World Cup. And just about to make our way into injury time here in the first leg of this Oceania FIFA World Cup qualifier. Only 2 minutes of added time. Beefy, that second half actually not too good from us, but thankfully 5-0 up by halftime. That really put that game and probably the tie overall to bed. We'll take a 6-0 lead over to New Caledonia. Might rotate the team a little bit, but even then would take an absolute disaster for us to not hold on and make our way through to the 2030 FIFA World Cup. So hopefully we're going to the World Cup for the second time in a row. And indeed that is the case. As you'd expect, we back up that 6-0 win in the first leg with a 4-2-1 there over in New Caledonia, but surprisingly actually went down early. But Ben Wayne, he picked up 2 goals. Goals also to Sarpreet Singh and George McDonald Singh. Could have had 2, but missed a penalty in the first half, but pretty comfortable off the back of that 6-0 win in the first leg. We go through 10-2 on aggregate and make our way to the FIFA World Cup. Also picked up a trophy for making our way to the World Cup, which is always nice considering we're New Zealand. We don't get a chance to win too many trophies apart from the ones down here in Oceania, but it does mean we go to the World Cup for the 4th time overall here with New Zealand and the 2nd time in a row, the first time that New Zealand make back-to-back World Cups in history, and hopefully can do something similar to what we did at the last World Cup and make our way out of the group. But that will do it for today's episode. We pick up a couple of trophies there with both Cashmere Technical and the Chatham Cup and the All Whites by going to the FIFA World Cup in 2030. If you enjoyed today's episode, which also included all those incoming transfers of former A-League players, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. Now, in terms of when we'll come back for tomorrow's episode, I think we won't spend too long in the championship phase of the National League. Ideally, won't play Auckland City on camera yet again, because I dare say that might be the final based on what's happened so far in the save. I think Petone and Melville United we should get past fairly comfortably. The Phoenix reserves, they could be tricky, even though that one is down at the GMP, so we might come back for that one, show you guys the highlights of Auckland City, and hopefully when we take on Manurewa, who finished 2nd behind Auckland City in the Northern League, that is a game where we might be able to seal our place in the National League Grand Final, as I said, probably against Auckland City, but by that stage we should have a pretty good idea before our final game in the Championship National League against the Dunedin City Royals before that Grand Final. So we'll come back tomorrow and probably take on the Phoenix reserves and Manurewa. So until then, thank you very much for watching, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.